So a lot of people seem to think Turtle WoW is cooked. Now, I do understand that Blizzard is cracking down pretty heavily on them, and it must make development cycle a living nightmare, but at the same time, I do understand and respect the fact that the IP does belong to Blizzard, and I can't really endorse private servers, even though it's so unfortunate because I just wish Blizzard would learn from them and actually make a good Classic Plus experience, because I love playing Turtle WoW, I gotta admit it. It was so fun, I've maxed my character there almost, and I only really need to do the raids. One day I might return and do that, but for now, I just play on the official servers because, you know, it is what it is, right? I have to play by the rules. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's reality.
Turtle WoW might be the closest thing that we've ever had to a true version of Classic Plus. And right now, Turtle WoW's development team is under the most pressure it has ever faced. Because once a private server reaches a certain level of success, once it becomes widely known, highly polished, and deeply supported by players, it stops being ignored and it starts being challenged. Turtle WoW didn't just grow over time. It built something a lot of players felt Blizzard never delivered on. An expanded version of vanilla World of Warcraft.
Wow, does it remind you of anything that happened previously? Maybe with a server called Nostalrius? That was the name, something like that? I know my pronunciation isn't on point here. It's been a while, but yeah. Blizzard only did Classic Experience the moment they've seen how many players played on that private server. Only then Blizzard realized the potential of the financial gains, and that's why they started moving, because Blizzard won't do anything unless they are guaranteed to make money out of it. It is so revolting, man. They don't even take risks anymore, and that's why we have the most dull, washed up products ever. Like, literally nobody cares about WoW anymore. Retail.
New zones that feel like they belong in Azeroth, new dungeons and raids that extend the world instead of replacing it, class changes that evolve the game without breaking its identity. It doesn't feel like a different game, it feels like a continuation of vanilla WoW. By 2025, Turtle WoW wasn't a small niche server anymore. It had multiple realms, a massive player base by private server standards, and a reputation for doing something that Blizzard hadn't committed to.
Oh, it's crazy how good that zone was, man. It was so good. Northwind, was it called? Oh my god, and the story there too. It's unfortunate that the story would never be up to par, because you know how the real story went, and it kind of doesn't align with what Blizzard goals were, and it's so unfortunate, but at the same time, they really did their best to make sure the quest makes sense, and like the story is continued in a way that is very integral to the core like game. It was so good. It was so good. I gotta applaud them for that.
And that's when the timeline starts to shift. On August 17th, 2025, Turtle WoW launched Ambershire, a brand new realm. That decision showed expansion for Turtle WoW and the developers' confidence.
That's why I played.
However, just 12 days later, on August 29th, 2025, Blizzard Entertainment filed a federal lawsuit in California against Turtle WoW. And from that moment on, everything has changed. Because this wasn't just a warning to the development team, this was a full legal escalation. Blizzard's case goes after Turtle WoW on multiple fronts, from copyright infringement, trademark violations, circumvention of Blizzard's protections, and monetization tied to Blizzard's intellectual property. But what makes this situation different is how Blizzard is applying pressure. They are not just targeting the private servers.
They actually want to take all the assets away. Yeah, we read that. And they're not giving them a full cease and desist. They're like, not only you're about to shut down, you're also gonna give me everything that you've created. It's so... it's just so cringe. Bro, Blizzard can't even make Classic Plus without taking the ideas of their fans. It's just so disgusting, because all they do is cube crawling and fridge raiding. They can't make up time to actually make something good. They can't be creative anymore.
Infrastructure. They are targeting everything around it. Through the legal process, Blizzard has pushed for discovery aimed at identifying the people behind the project. That includes requests involving major third-party platforms tied to payments, hosting, development, communication, and promotion. Platforms like PayPal, Discord, GitHub, Cloudflare, and social media networks all come into play here, and the goal
Yeah,
is
because basically Turtle WoW protected itself by isolating themselves from jurisdiction. They cannot be targeted by like US courts as far as I'm aware of. So what Blizzard is doing is essentially cutting off ties to everything that gives them a financial benefit. And that's smart. That's completely fine. They should do it. Obviously, it's their IP. I'm not going to be like against it. It is what it is, guys.
clear. Map the ecosystem, connect the identities, and remove the layers of anonymity that private server projects usually depend on to operate. Because historically, private servers survive in part because they're decentralized. They have different contributors, different aliases, different pieces of infrastructure spread across different regions. Blizzard's strategy here is to collapse that structure, to turn something distributed into something traceable. There is also the branding side of the legal actions. On October 11, 2025, Blizzard filed a domain complaint over turtle-wow.org. On December 1st, 2025, Blizzard won. The ruling said the domain was confusingly similar to Blizzard's branding and could mislead players into thinking it was officially connected. That might sound like a small detail, but it isn't. That domain is part of how many new players discovered the server. It's part of how the project presented itself. It was part of its legitimacy. So losing it didn't shut the server down, but it did make growth harder for the project. And then came one of the most important moments for the Turtle WoW team. On December 19, 2025, Turtle WoW announced that Turtle WoW 2.0 was permanently discontinued. And this is where the tone around the project really changed. Because Turtle WoW 2.0 wasn't just an update, it was the project's future. A new client, improved performance, stronger technical foundation, built-in Unreal Engine.
To be fair, it didn't look that promising. I gotta admit, I think that the regular server was way better. I didn't like this. It just looked really, really off-putting. It kind of looks like you're trying to min-max games from two different realities, and that's what happens. This amalgamation, I don't like that. It looks really weird.
It was something that made it feel like Turtle WoW wasn't just maintaining a private server, but building something long-term and something truly new, and suddenly it was canceled. Now officially, Turtle WoW's team did not say that this was caused by Blizzard. But when you look at the timeline, the pressure likely had an effect on their decision. There was a lawsuit in late August, domain pressure in October, domain loss in early December, and 2.0 was canceled just a few weeks later. That sequence alone is enough to change how many players see the situation. So what did Turtle WoW do in response? They didn't shut down, they didn't disappear, they have instead adjusted their plans. They released an open letter to Blizzard, and instead of attacking back, they proposed a different path. They talked about licensing. In their open letter, they framed their work as a community-driven expansion to Azeroth.
Yeah, I remember reading that. It was so sad. But to be honest, it was more of a letter for the fans. It was never really meant for Blizzard. You know Blizzard wouldn't even look at that. They wouldn't even take to glance at it. They don't care. Blizzard does not care at all. All that Blizzard cares about is money. That's the only thing they are known for. And it is what it is, man. Like, this letter was clearly, obviously, just a clapback to show unity of the community. And I think it's important. I'm glad they did that. But anyone thinking this was meant for Blizzard, you're delulu. 100%. Like, Blizzard could not care less. They literally could not care less.
Tried to position themselves less like a rogue server and more like a project that wants to exist within a broader ecosystem with Blizzard. Now, this is a very interesting approach. However, at the same time, they have continued doing what built their reputation in the first place. They have continued running their servers and building a Classic Plus experience. Turtle WoW's patch 1.18.1 was first announced in October 2025, and it is officially scheduled for release on March 20th, 2026. If you're watching this video on its release date, that means the patch is released today. This patch is quite large, and it's effectively an expansion. It brings with it new zones, new content, continued expansion of the vanilla world. So even despite the legal pressures building around them, the Turtle WoW team has continued developing their server. And that's where this situation becomes more complicated, because it isn't just about whether Turtle WoW survives legally in the long haul, it's about what Turtle WoW represents to the WoW community and the player base. Blizzard is beginning to actively work in the Classic Plus space. Season of Discovery introduced new abilities, new raid content, and experimental systems layered on top of vanilla WoW.
Dude, Season of Discovery, it's the lamest attempt into actually reinvigorating Classic. It was so lazy, and again, that's all that Blizzard can pull off. The most bare bones changes ever. Like, they couldn't do what Turtle WoW is doing with all of their budget because they're so lazy and fixated on making just shop changes. All they care about is new microtransactions. They don't care about new content. Content for them is way different from what we define as content, because content from them means an extra plushy teddy bear that you can purchase, but for us it means like a new zone. Okay, so our values and goals don't align. They're completely different. That's why Blizzard never communicates with you as well, because they know what you're about to say and they just rather not hear it at all.
That alone shows Blizzard themselves are willing to evolve the Classic formula. And while Blizzard has not officially announced...
Evolve where? Evolving backwards doesn't count. Like, brother, what are you on about?
A release for a Classic Plus project, the direction is clear. They are experimenting, they are iterating, and they are exploring what Classic...
No, they're giving you the laziest cop-out ever. It's not experimentation, it's not anything of the sort. It's literally the most lazy solution they came up with. It's that simple. Don't give Blizzard a modicum of leniency and actually good faith behavior. Literally do not give them that. They don't deserve it.
Now look back at Turtle WoW, because what they've already built is exactly what many players imagine when they say Classic Plus. Expanded vanilla, more content, a deeper version of the original game. And that creates a direct comparison, because if Blizzard eventually releases its own version of Classic Plus, players are going to compare it to Turtle WoW.
Yep.
That's not a theory, that will be reality. And it's
100%.
likely something that Blizzard wants to avoid. And that brings us back to something that we've already seen before. In 2016, the private server Nostalrius became one of the biggest private servers in the world. It had hundreds of thousands of accounts, a massive dedicated community, and more importantly, it proved something. It proved that many players wanted vanilla WoW back. Eventually, the server grew too large to be ignored, and Blizzard stepped in with legal action. Nostalrius shut down on April 10th, 2016. And at the time, it felt like the end of the Classic WoW movement. But it wasn't. Later that same month, Blizzard publicly announced the demand for legacy servers. There was a lot of discussion and buzzing around the community for what the future might hold. And then, on November 3rd, 2017, Blizzard officially announced World of Warcraft Classic. Now, the reason I mentioned this is because
God bless. And you know what's funny? After that, they announced it way more times. We had Classic all the way until Pandaria, which is the current one. And then we had Season of Discovery, and now we're getting a re-release of TBC. It's just hilarious to see how dumb Blizzard is. They are so dull, they can't even listen to the demands of their community. You think you do, but you don't. Of course, Chief. Yes.
Become a pattern. A private server proves massive demand. Blizzard steps in with legal action, and eventually Blizzard moves into the same space. As of today, Turtle WoW isn't just proving that Classic Plus can work as a concept, it's proving that Classic Plus can be a hit success. It's showing that players still want more content built on top of the original foundation of vanilla WoW, and that makes its position very different from most private servers, because it's not just preserving something, it's evolving on it.
True, but the problem is with Blizzard is, well, not Blizzard specifically, just the game and the retail version, is that these two are bound to clash. Because you cannot make a Classic Plus experience while retail still exists. It doesn't really make any sense, at least from my perspective, because retail went in a certain direction, which we now know is completely garbage. And if you're gonna use Classic Plus, I think you should do it in a complete reset. I think you should make Classic Plus on a new engine. I don't think you should use the old one. I think that you should obviously make the game Classic extension, but with an engine upgrade, and make sure that this is the new standard. I think they should cancel retail. I might be just, on the more unfavored side of this discussion, but I believe that that's what needs to happen for Classic Plus to truly thrive. Yeah, that's what happened to me there. I literally choked. It's Blizzard. They're coming for me. But at the same time, I understand why retail players, some of them would want a separate server for retail because they don't want all their items and stuff they've garnered through the years to be lost, which I completely respect. Yeah, I completely respect that opinion. I think it's completely fair. People have worked extremely hard to collect all of these mounts, transmogs, achievements, whatever, right? You don't want all of this erased in an instant. It would feel really bad. But at the same time, I just can't see a world where Classic Plus and retail exist. Maybe alternate timeline something. Maybe somehow they can pull it off. I just can't really see it at the moment. I gotta be honest with y'all. I think Classic Plus should be the new standard. If Blizzard want World of Warcraft to be successful, because right now it's garbage, yeah, they should definitely do it. And I know a lot of people play retail, guys. I know about the bot farming. Okay, it's fine. But at the same time, it's only because World of Warcraft don't have a real contender. That's why Blizzard is handing out all of these cease and desist like candy. Because they know it actually hurts their monetization and income. They know that.
Despite its continued success, a large factor for why the future of Turtle WoW feels uncertain is because the structure behind Turtle WoW isn't simple. The project involves contributors across different regions, entities tied to the case include organizations outside the United States, and the infrastructure behind a private server like this is not always centralized in one place. Now that doesn't mean that it's immune to legal action for Blizzard, but it does make enforcement more complicated than just flipping a switch. And that's why the legal case against Turtle WoW doesn't feel like a single moment.
Damn, they changed the classes even more.
And that's because it is.
Wow.
There is mounting pressure on the Turtle WoW team on the legal side.
Wait, what was that?
And that's because it.
Oh my god, was that Shadow Priest? Holy, wait, that's crazy. Is that Shadow Priest? No, that's a Warlock. Oh man, for a moment I thought they changed Shadow Priest. I really wanted to play Shadow Priest and I thought they changed nothing. And you know what? It may just show how good it really was.
It is. There is mounting pressure on the Turtle WoW team on the legal side, pressure on infrastructure, pressure on visibility, and pressure on all of the people involved on the development team. And that kind of pressure doesn't always end a project overnight, but it can wear down the project over time. At the same time, the community's response has been very strong. Turtle WoW has built a very loyal fan base that sees it as more than just a private server. For many players, it's the version of World of Warcraft that they actually want to play. And for many players, it's their new home. So when people ask, is Turtle WoW's future cooked? The answer is complicated. As of today, Turtle WoW's website is still live. The realms are still running, and updates are still being released. However, many players are still very hesitant to give Turtle WoW a shot. It is under sustained pressure from many different directions at the same time. Legal pressure, infrastructure pressure, visibility pressure, and potentially future competition from Blizzard itself. Turtle WoW's future isn't in danger because their vision for Classic Plus failed. It's in danger because their vision for Classic Plus worked. It proved there is a real demand for a version of WoW that Blizzard hasn't delivered on yet. So now the real question is this. Are we watching another Nosaurius moment play out in real time? Or will Turtle WoW continue to thrive despite these added pressures from Blizzard?
Depends if Classic Plus does release from Blizzard or not. If Classic Plus would be released from Blizzard official servers and it would be as good as Turtle WoW is cooked. 100%. Because people would always rather play an official game because they know they're pretty much guaranteed to have continuation, and obviously you have all of the stuff that a big company can provide for you, right? Which is consistent content pattern and better response from like GMs and tickets that you need to be resolved and all that stuff, right? And just generally the stuff that big company can provide because they are more organized. So yeah, 100%. I think most people would rather play on an official server. That includes myself, of course. I just really hope it would be on par with Turtle WoW and even better, right? Even though I do not believe Blizzard can pull this off, I really think that their story writers are just cringe millennials, and I don't like that. But maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to be hopeful here.
Do you think Blizzard will ever seriously consider a licensing agreement with Turtle WoW?
No.
If Blizzard releases an official Classic Plus, are you going to switch and play it, or are you staying with Turtle WoW? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them. And thank you for watching this video.
Okay, seems to be the end of the video. Great video. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. You guys should watch it for yourself. Give them a like. But absolutely, I pretty much said everything that I feel like it needed to be said. That needed to be said here. God bless. I don't know what happened to me. Just brain lag toward the end there. At the same time, I really wish that Blizzard do manage to pull off Classic Plus. I really want to see that happening because I'm actually frothing at the mouth just in anticipation for them to announce Classic. I think they are bound to do it in October, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's where the strongest rumor lies. And I really hope it would be true. I really hope to see Classic Plus happening.